I came to this Hope muster station. Is where the personnel who are on here all night in case there's a spill or an emergency. There's nobody here. Now we see one fellow just drove in now, and there's a camper van usually around here, but I never see anybody here. So this whole thing just is amazing to me why there's not. At this, the most dangerous spot in the whole pipeline. The highest pressure has got to be here, at the bottom of the Coquihalla, bottom of the Coast Mountain. This huge drop of 3,000, 4,000, 4,400 feet. The pressure's got to be the greatest here. The original pipeline papers note that the pressure was strong enough at this point that no pumping was needed all the way to Burnaby at that time. Since then they put in the Sumas pumping station. But the pressure, the greatest danger has got to be here and upstream from Hope here. The idea of these flow tanks, I believe, was to catch, if there's a break up here, they could run the oil into these overflow tanks. But they're pretty old and rusty to me. We'll go and look at them in a minute here. I don't think any of that makes any sense in terms of, real sense in terms of containment of a spill. It'll might hold some of the oil, but the big spill is obviously going to come. If the pipe breaks here at Hope and several other places up above here where the pressure is really high, the run out of the pipe from the pipe capacity alone is half the Exxon spill. And if they keep pumping, which they've done in several spills, and don't shut it off in time, you could even have as much as the Exxon spill come out of just this area. And the statistics are all in that older book, specification book I have on the pipeline. But as you can see, a barrel of oil is right there, and the capacity of the pipe alone is a huge bunch of oil, which is going to, and with multiple breaks, could lead to really catastrophic spill eventually. Obviously, it's going to happen. It's not if, but when. We have to start thinking in terms of that. We can't start pretending it's not going to break. We have to factor in the chances of a break here into the world statistics. Yes, they're trying hard not to have a break, but pipes rust and we will have a break for many other reasons, even if they are really good at their job, and we are going to have mistakes due to human error as well as the 60 years of corrosion. Why the company did not choose to replace the pipe at this time that they're planning on the twinning really stank to me. When I heard that from a maintenance guy, right away I thought, whoa, why are they running this pipe to the limit, over the limit of a normal pipe? It's probably about 60 or 70 years at the very most. Because it's paid for. That's why this pipe's all paid for. It's pure profit. Very little maintenance compared to the vast profits being made, bringing down, among other things, dill. But they also bring gasoline down this line, as we'll talk about later in the day. A gasoline spill and also bitumen, which can catch fire. This carries huge implications for fire hazards for the people here and for the coast forests and for the interior forests particularly. There's a lot more to it than just a spill into the river. There's a really good chance we're going to have forest fires from breaks in the line, which actually occurred in the Skeena River with the gas line where a rock slide took out one of the lines going into Kitimat, caused a big forest fire. We're going to have that. It's not that we may have that. It's going to happen if we continue to think that this is a good economics. When you round it off over the long term in terms of public policy, human life lost, damage to our environment and to our other industries, forest industries, fishing industries, sports fishing industries, this is net loss, sort of like the salmon farming industries. It's a short-term way to make some money. 60-year-old pipe. What crazy idea. There's been over 70, 80 spills now, and the big one, of course, is coming. Statistically, it's not that their pipes have been run safe than any other pipe. It's just we haven't had the perfect storm of a pipe breakage, and a multiple breakage will occur now, because as this corrosion is taking, and the water here in the rainforest part of the pipe here is corroding the pipe from the outside. Electrolysis is corroding the actual metal. And the inside now, for 30 years actually, they've been putting dilbit or tar sands oil down, so that's corroding from the inside. There's a whole bunch of perfect storms, along with the old valves we'll see in a minute, which are going to add up to inevitably a big spill, which will gunk up the Fraser River for hundreds of years.
It's almost vertical, isn't it?
So this is the jump off, one of the steepest spots after we get to the summit of the Coquihalla here, and this is the first big drop down into this canyon where the Kettle Valley Railway used to run, and the pipeline now runs. And this is a really steep spot where the old construction book talks about lowering cats on cables, and they had to lower the whole pipe here. I guess they had to weld it and then lower it in place. They were pretty nervous about doing it without damaging it. Since I was here last 3 weeks ago, the Kinder men have been in here and they've put flags. They look like either they're relocating the pipe here or they're found places where the pipe's a bit thinner, right on top of this drop-off here. And this line takes this enormous altitude drop here, 60 years old now. It's going to break. Broke twice in the last month. You get a leak down there or multiple leaks when they try and shut it down, and the water hammer effect means that the valves, or maybe several of the valves, malfunction and break, or the pipe breaks at the seam, or the pipe breaks in several spots at once where it's been weakened. You could have the entire contents of the pipe in the river here, and it would add up to considerable spill. I guess the contents of the pipe from here to Hope are about half of what the Exxon spill was. So if we had multiple breaks here, we'd get half the Exxon into Coquihalla and here, and ultimately into the Fraser River, which this flows into. And if they kept on pumping and things went really wrong, we could have even more oil. If they left it several hours, we could have the equivalent of the Exxon spill in the waterways here, roaring down these hills into Coquihalla here and then actually into the Fraser River. And the attitude has been, this is here, so therefore it's safe, therefore it's okay, but that doesn't make any sense. We've just basically the province and the federal government, mainly the province, has said that the Enron pipeline, the Skeena way, is not great because it's just too much environmental problems all the way along in the ocean side, but also many waterways it has to cross. Surely this is much worse than the Enron pipe in terms of terrain, and already 60 years old. So to be logical, this pipe should be closed down immediately, should not be allowed to operate at all, if we're logical, which nobody seems to be, especially the politicians, especially our premier, and especially our prime minister, who said, I guess about 2 years ago, widely on the radio, that he would never allow dilbit to be shipped in a raw form to the west coast. And under pressure from heavy-duty lobbying from the mining industry, he's even threatened to take away the Fisheries Act, which a lot of British Columbians very much depend on and believe in, which is an act which protects the waterways from any spill which become deleterious substances and involve heavy fines immediately if you spill such a substance. Well, they haven't managed to revoke that law under pressure, but they're still going ahead with this crazy plan, both to continue this pipeline, which is crazy, it should be stopped right now. And second of all, not to build this crazy twinning line. The twin line would be even bigger, running under more pressure, and a leak, even a small leak for a short period of time, would put even more oil into the waterways because of the heavier pressure and the larger size of the pipe. They'll be unrecoverable in these areas if there is a pipe burst, to try and pretend you can clean up the oil. What they're doing now with these spills is they're trying to dig all the oil up and check it out by truck. You can only do that for so long before you can't physically do it anymore. So hopefully people can understand that this has been running for some 60 years, and there's been some officially 70 or 80 spills. I'm told by the native First Nations up here that some of them are called anomalies when they're spills. They're not always classified as spills. So the other thing is, the pipe actually didn't run for some periods of time because the markets weren't there for the oil down in the Burnaby area. The processing capacity wasn't there before they were tankering it out to China, which they're doing now. But remember, 4 to 5 tankers a month of bitumen are now coming down this pipe and are going directly to China. And this is happening now. Further to that, they've been bringing bitumen through this pipe for 30 years, according to Kinder Morgan's own website. Therefore, we know that the pipe must have taken more wear and tear than other pipes, in all probability, because of the corrosive nature of bitumen, which contains sand, and also this dilute which runs with it. It's debated, but I don't see the debate. Obviously, it's a step worse than the regular crude, especially than the red water crude the pipe was originally built for. So they control this access to this area, and they've blocked our access effectively today to see if this spill has gotten into the waterways. However, I'm not going to keep it closed forever. We'll get back in here, see what we can find. There's quite a few deer tracks in here today, and quite a bit of bear signs, so a lot of wildlife in this area. Salmon come right to the headwaters of the Coquihalla here, down here, and they also come to the headwaters of the Coldwater, so this is a very alive area for fish and wildlife. Very untouched area in a lot of ways. It's recovered from the heavy fires of the railway here and so on. So I can't see where the repair site is of this second spill recorded near Hope or Merritt. It was about, the 6th today of July. They've been marking off where the jump off here, where the pipe is, maybe even some thinning of the pipe here. And we're not going to be able to access where they're repairing it today from what I can see. I can't see where it is yet. But it is somewhere down in the Coquihalla Canyon where they had the second spill of 12 barrels. Or so somebody estimated 12 barrels. 12 barrels of oil has to be in the waterways, because if you dump 12 barrels of sand in the pile, it might stay in the pile. But 12 barrels of oil, you know, I think I'm old enough now to know that 12 barrels of oil will run into the waterway. So there must be oil in the waterways down there. But they've got the road cut, which they have gated, closed to the public at both ends today. I think this end, I think the other end. We'll check it out a bit later at Portia. So we can't get access to where they have had this leak, I guess about a week ago. And they said they repaired it the first day, so they got the oil going down it the very next day, but they haven't let the public in a week now. So all of this tells me that that we do have oil in the waterways, and there's a bit of cover-up going here. First of many, I think. It's this old pipeline. Of course, breaks increasingly frequently over the years now, although they have been told to reduce the pressure in the pipe by the National Energy Board, and they also have now been told to inspect it on foot every 2 weeks, whereas I was told formerly the helicopter came up over it every month or every 2 weeks. They had different reports. But it looks like they're realizing that these leaks, which are these anomalies, or these seeps we've seen, there's 3 of them today or 4, the pipe is consistently leaking from these pinhole leaks. I'm just guessing, but it's a pretty good guess. And we're starting to get more leaks. This is where the pressure increases enormously. This is oil being heavy, going straight over a cliff. It's got to be a lot more pressure down there than up here. Today the highway runs over here for about 40-50 miles to avoid this area, and a steeper route, but there's more landslides in here. As you look, see this cliff down here, and you see the canyon down here. This is an area that's for 4 months of the year inaccessible because of snow slides. It's just too dangerous in those days even to run the Kettle Valley Railway. They actually took and sidelined most of the freight out to Merritt because they couldn't use this for 4 months of the year. This means that for at least probably 4 months of the year, if there's a spill here, there can be no remediation because they can't get at it except by helicopter. And this is a bad place to put a pipeline. If the Enbridge and Skeena were bad, this is worse. And I think the pipeline to the States, this is 100 times more difficult and dangerous terrain, and more leak prone and more difficult to clean up terrain than the pipeline to the States. Okay, so here we are just below Portia, below the Coquihalla Canyon, but I mean, we're still in the Coquihalla Canyon. And here I'm sitting on top of a slide that's fallen on top of the pipeline right-of-way. Looks like last winter. There's slide materials all the way up this very steep spot where the pipelines cross the creek over here and it goes up and then down again. And I don't know why it's cut to go up. It's got enough head pressure from when we looked earlier at the jump off in Iago where it's just enough to drop, but they don't need to pump it because it goes right up here and it can go down again. There's no problem. There'd be plenty of pressure in this pipe. It seems to me, I don't know what slides do to pipes, but puts more pressure on it and it can break anywhere in here. Over 60 years, the land itself moves, and of course is moving downwards. Erosion's happening, the pipe's getting corroded, and everything's happening at once. Not good. It can be nothing but catastrophe.